everyone! Today, we are going to crochet lanternfish and pufferfish. The pufferfish has two big eyes and many small bumps on its body. The lanternfish has a scaldfish device on the top of its head. Let's crochet this lanternfish together. Take out the pink yarn. First, we're going to learn how to wrap yarn around our left hand. Pull the yarn and wrap it around your pinky first. Then around the index finger. And finally, round the middle finger. Cross the yarn ends and press with your thumb. We need to make a magical ring fist. Get out of our crochet hook. The hook faces down and goes under the top piece of yarn. Press down on top of the yarn we've straightened. Grab the yarn with your hook and pull it out. As you pull it out, twist it clockwise up. Now we have a loop on our hook. Then wind the yarn upward from the bottom of the straightened yarn. Thread through an existing loop of yarn on the crochet hook. This method of hooking the crochet hook from the bottom of the yarn upwards is yarn over. This is a starting stitch. It cannot be regarded as the first order of stitching. Now make 6 single crochet stitches in the loop, back through the hole that the hook just went into. Yarn over and pull it out. Now there are 2 loops on the crochet hook. Continue yarning over, pulling from both loops. The first single crochet is done. It has a V shape. Usually, we put a marker on the first stitch of each turn. Pass the stitch maker through the back of the V-shaped needle and fasten it. It's easier for us to remember which loop we made. Let us know where to start. Continue to complete 5 single crochet stitches. Keep crocheting through this hole. Yarn over and pull it out. Continue yarning over, pulling from both loops. The second single crochet is done. Use the same method to complete the remaining 4 single crochets. The last single crochet is done. Now let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At the end of each crochet, check if the number of stitches is correct. Now we need to tighten the ring. Find the short yarn. Pull the yarn end on the short side and pull hard until there is no hole in the center of the circle. Then we started crocheting the second round. The second round is 6 increased stitches. Increasing stitches means crocheting 2 single crochet stitches in each stitch. Now we remove the stitch marker. Insert the crochet hook from the stitch where we just removed the stitch marker. Merge the yarn ends of the short sides into the crocheted fabric to hide it. Complete a single crochet stitch first. Remember to add a stitch marker to the first stitch of each round. This is the first single crochet in the first group of increasing stitches. Next, complete the second single crochet stitch in the first group of increasing stitches. Still inserting the crochet needle in the stitch just now. Crochet another single crochet stitch. This way, the first group of increasing stitches is completed. It has 2 V-shaped stitches. Next, complete the second increased stitch in the next stitch. Still do 2 single crochet stitches in 1 stitch. The second increased stitch is also completed. Use the same method to complete the next 4 increased stitches. After crocheting a certain number of stitches, you can cut the yarns on the short side, pulling them tight before cutting them. Continue to complete the remaining groups. The last stitch of the second round is completed. At the end of the second round, there are 12 stitches. Now start the third round. The crochet method is 1 single crochet and 1 increased stitch as a group and repeated 6 times. First, crochet a single crochet in the first stitch. Then crochet an increasing stitch in the second stitch, that is, 2 single crochets. The first group 1 single crochet and 1 increasing stitch is completed. Continue. 1 single crochet, 1 increased stitch, continue to complete the remaining groups. The last stitch of the third round is completed. Remember that we have 18 stitches in total. Then comes the fourth round. With 1 single crochets, 1 increased stitches, 1 single crochets as a group. First, crochet a single crochet in the first stitch. Then crochet an increasing stitch in the second stitch, that is, 2 single crochets. Complete 1 single crochet stitch in the next stitch. The first group 1 single crochet, 1 increased stitch, and 1 single crochet is completed. Continue to complete the remaining groups. The last stitches of the fourth round is completed. Remember that we have 24 stitches in total. Now start the 5th to 8th rounds. The 5th to 8th rounds are all 24 stitches. 1 stitch per stitch, no increase or decrease. Remember to make a stitch marker. Continue. The 8th round is completed, a total of 24 stitches. For the 9th round, we need to change to white yarn. Prepare the white yarn in your left hand. Pull out the hook. Pass it behind the 2 lines on the side of the last stitch. Hang the white yarn on the hook. Hook the yarn and pass it through the loop. Grab the pink yarn and pull it down until the original loop disappears. After changing the color, start crocheting the 9th to 10th rounds. It's 24 single crochets. Tighten the white yarn and pink yarn on the short side. Combine them together and crochet into the fabric. This will make the yarn stronger. Complete a single crochet in each stitch. After crocheting a few stitches, you can cut the short side yarn and pink yarn. Tighten them before cutting. Be careful not to cut other yarns. Continue. The 10th round is completed. Now for the 11th round. In this round, we will start to decrease stitches. The rule of this round is 1 single crochet stitches, 1 decreased stitches, 1 single crochet stitches as a group. Repeat 6 times. First, crochet a single crochet in the first stitch. The following is a decreased stitch. For aesthetics, we use invisible decreased stitches on the surface of the crocheted fabric and only use the front loop only to crochet. The front loop only is the side close to our body, the outside part of the V we see. The crochet hook goes into the first front loop only. Hook in, continue into the second front loop only. Now there are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, passes through the first 2 loops. Continue yarning over and pass through all the loops. A decreased stitch is done. The following is a single crochet. The first group, 1 single crochet stitch, 1 decreased stitch, 1 single crochet stitch is done. Use the same method to complete the next 5 groups. The 11th round is completed. Now let's add eyes to it. Take out the safety eyes in our accessory bags. It has a spiral plug rod and a matching washer to fix it. Insert safety eyes between round 6 and 7. Put the plug rod between the stitches. Spacing them 5 stitches apart. Turn the pieces over. Put the washer in from the inside and buckle the plug rod. The eyes are installed. Now start the 12th round. Use 1 single crochet stitch, 1 decreased stitch as a group, and repeat 6 times. The 12th round is completed. Leave 10 centimeters of yarn waiting for stitching. Cut it. Pull the yarn out of the loop. Now you can add filling cotton. Remove the stitch marker. Take out our stuffing and pull it open to make it loose. And stuff it in small amounts and multiple times until its shape looks like a ball. Pinch it with your hands to keep a certain elasticity. Take out the sewing needle and put on the yarn. We can see that there is a hole in the center of the circle. Now let's close the ball. Still using the front loop only. Pass the needle through each stitch in turn. Sewed a total of 12 stitches. Tighten it at the end until there is no hole in the center. Pull the yarn through a few stitches from the bottom of the last row. Then insert the needle into the body. Pull the yarn out from the side of the body. Cut the excess yarn close to the body. Use the needle to push the yarn head into the body. Great! Its main body is completed. Next we need to crochet her mouth, fins, and tail. Take out the rose red yarn and make her fins first. You first need to make a slip knot. Pick up the yarn and wrap it around the index finger of your right hand. Then pinch the loop and fold it. Then pick up the yarn that's in the middle of the loop with one hand and then pick up the yarn tail with the other. And pull those two in opposite directions until a knot is formed. Start crocheting 3 chain stitches. The chain stitching method is relatively simple. Yarn over and pass it through. Three chain stitches are done. Now crochet the second row. Skip the first stitch and start crocheting from the second stitch. First, a single crochet. Then a slip stitch. The slip stitch is 2 yarn over only once and pass through the loop to complete it. Now crochet the third row. First, a chain stitch. This chain stitch here acts as a height. It is not counted in the stitches. Then flip the pieces horizontally. Still skip the first stitch and start crocheting from the second stitch. Use the back loops only to crochet. First, a slip stitch. Then a single crochet. Start the fourth row. Crochet a chain stitch. Flip the fabric horizontally. Still skip the first stitch and start crocheting from the second stitch. First, a single crochet. Then a slip stitch. Cut the yarn, leaving 15 centimeters of yarn waiting for sewing. Make another one in the same way. Now start making the fishtails. Still starting with the slip knots. Then start the first row. There are 5 chain stitches in total. For the second row, we'll crochet backwards. Skip the first stitch and start crocheting from the second stitch. Here only crochet the back loops only. Crochet 2 single crochet stitches and 2 slip stitches in sequence. Start the third row. Crochet a chain stitch. Turn the fabric pieces horizontally. Still skip the first stitch and start crocheting from the second stitch. Crochet 2 slip stitches and 2 single crochet stitches in sequence. Start the fourth row. Crochet a chain stitch and turn the fabric pieces over. Still skip the first stitch and start crocheting from the second stitch. Crochet 2 single crochet stitches and 2 slip stitches in sequence. For the next 2 rows, repeat the 3rd to 4th rows. The fishtail is crocheted, leaving 15 centimeters of yarn waiting for sewing. Next, we'll crochet her mouth, still starting with the slip knots. First, we need to complete 21 chain stitches. After completing the first row, start the second row. Skip the first stitch and start crocheting from the second stitch. A total of 20 single crochet stitches. Add a stitch mark to the first stitch. The last single crochet is completed. Leave 30 centimeters of yarn for sewing. Pull the yarn out of the loop. Remove the stitch marks, and we need to sew the mouth into a circle. Take out the sewing needle and put on the yarn. Insert the needle from the stitch where we just removed the mark button. Pull out the yarn. Insert the needle from the stitch above. Go back to the stitch at the other end and insert the needle. In this way, sew the joints at both ends. Then sew the yarn of this short side into the fabric and hide it. Pulling it tight. Now you can cut off the excess yarn. Her mouth is done. Next, crochet the stand for the skullfish. Still starting with the slip knots. The first row is 11 chain stitches. After completing the first row, start the second row. Skip the first stitch and start crocheting from the second stitch. Start by crocheting 9 slip stitches. Still use the back loops only. The 10th stitch is also a slip stitch. Then add a chain stitch after this slip stitch. Start crocheting at the second stitch position of this row. Still using the back loops only of the stitches. Start from the second stitch of this row and crochet 9 slip stitches back. After completion, cut off the yarn of the short side. Leave 15 centimeters of yarn waiting for sewing. Next, crochet the ball. Take out the white luminous yarn in our material bag. Still starting with the magic ring. First, crochet an initial stitch. Now make 6 single crochet stitches in the loop. Remember to make a stitch marker. Now you can follow the pattern to complete rounds 1 to 2. When you finish crocheting the second round, the fabric is now rolled up, and we need to turn the front side over. Then complete the third round according to the pattern. Leaves 15 centimeters of yarn waiting for sewing. Take out the sewing needle and put on the yarn. Finally, close the ball. Sew a few stitches along the bottom of the stitches. Insert the needle from the side and pass the yarn through the center of the circle. Sew the ball and the stand together. Insert the needle from the top stitch of the stand. Then return to the center of the ball and exit the needle from the side. Sew a few stitches along the bottom of the stitches. Make the yarn connection more secure. Sew a few more stitches and you can cut off the excess yarn. Tuck the excess yarn into the ball. Now, sew the body and the various parts together. First, sew the mouth. Put the needle through the yarn. Let's look at the mouth first. This side with a complete V-shaped stitch faces outward. and the other side is used for sewing. Sew the mouth in the middle of rows 7th, 9th rounds. Find the corresponding point and insert the needle into the body from the rightmost side. Exit the needle at the upper left stitch position. Insert the needle and sew at the corresponding stitch on the mouth. Continue to insert the needle into the body at the corresponding point, then exit the needle 1 stitch point to the left. Insert the needle into the corresponding point at the mouth. In this way, sew a circle along the outline of the mouth. Pay attention to the sewing process and keep the shape of the mouth. Finally, hide the yarn in the main body. This can better fix the yarn. Cut off the excess yarn and the mouth is sewn. Next, we'll sew its fins. Note that the side with the V-shaped needle is facing forward. Sew the fins on the position of the 7th, 9th rounds on both side parts. Find the corresponding point and insert the needle into the body from the rightmost side. Sewed along the position where the fins and the body are connected. Finally, hide the remaining threads into the body. Pull the 2 threads out from the same stitch on the side. Tie a knot at the back of the 2 yarns. Finally, hide the yarn in the main body. Finally, cut off the excess yarn. Use the same method to sew the fins on the other side. Next, we'll sew her scaldfish. Sew the bottom to the body. Note that its position is in the middle between the 1st and 2nd rounds at the back. Find the corresponding point and insert the needle into the body. Exit the needle from the next stitch. Then return to the corresponding stitch of the bracket to sew. Continue to insert the needle into the body. Sew a few more stitches to strengthen their connection. Finally, sew into the body to fix the yarn in the body. Then cut off the excess yarn. The lantern fishing is done. You are awesome! Next, let's crochet pufferfish. The crochet method for the pufferfish's body, fins, and tail is the same as that for the lanternfish. Its mouth is sewn, and there are many small protruding dots on its body. We find avocado green yarn and refer to the pattern to complete it yourself. Use white yarn to make its fins and tails. After completion, sew them together like a lanternfish. Now use pink yarn to sew the mouth of the pufferfish. Insert the needle from the side and then exit from the mouth in the middle of the face. Insert the needle 1 stitch to the right. Continue to exit the needle from the left side of the mouth and repeat once more. Finally, Exit the needle from the side where the needle was first inserted. Tie a knot of the two yarns. Sew the long yarn into the body and deal with the excess yarn. The mouth is done. Finally, make the small protrusions on the body of the pufferfish. Prepare white and green yarns, each 50 centimeters long. Put the needle through the yarn. Insert the needle from the side and back of the body and exit from the top. Don't pull all the yarn into the body, leaving some outside. First, put the sewing needle against the body and place it where we want to make the small protrusions. Then wrap the yarn around the needle tip twice. Press the yarn with your left hand and pull the needle out with your right hand. Tighten the coil while adjusting its position. When tightening at the end, pay attention to keep the loop as close to the main body of the hat as possible. And a small ball is ready. Then insert the needle back from the same position and remove the needle from the other side at the position you want. Use the same method to complete the small ball, and then pass the yarn to the next positioning point. The small balls are evenly distributed, without fixed positions. You can refer to our examples or do it according to your own ideas. After both colors are completed, deal with the excess yarn as before. Our pufferfish is done. The AnglerPuff combination is all done. Isn't it cute?